We came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, the sports show.
Yeah.
Yerrr.
I know Matt can't say. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Yerrr Sports Show. I'm your host, Big Baby, aka the soul of R&B. To my right, back in her rightful place, up on the top right, the Queen Tay.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
Bottom right.
She wasn't on the top right last week?
No. I put the guest there.
Yeah. We should have kept it the way that it usually was.
Yeah.
Bottom right.
No, but it just doesn't feel comfortable with me. I don't know. Maybe because I'm used to it.
Yeah. I keep it the same next time. The bottom right, the voice of a generation, Pete Rosado.
It's, I'm just glad. Y'all can actually see my face now after like 7 months of having like a hobo beard. I actually look like a person again.
Listen, I just got my haircut the other day. I feel good.
But
I feel
yours
different.
wasn't looking like mine. I was looking like scraggly, and it was coming down. It was
the top of my head. My top of my head was looking like that. So, and to the bottom left, welcome back from load management, BK Matt.
No, I was on that Kyrie load management. It was on that Kyrie
unexplained absences.
It was personal.
Ain't nothing wrong. No, ain't nothing wrong with your absences, but we'll get into those later on.
Yours were like health protocols.
Yeah,
Matt.
No, your smoke is coming later, brother. Your smoke coming later. All right.
So how was everybody?
Explain to me how Shaq is the leading scorer in our league right now. The man's got like 18,000 points on his fantasy team. I'm like, what in the world?
I don't know. I'm having like.
I don't know how y'all could even doubt that Shaq was going to be in the league. That dude is a basketball sports.
No, not that he's going to be in the league. But when I tell you, Queen, this man and me and Dre and a couple other people, like we have some high scoring teams. Shaq's got far and away the highest scoring team in the league.
Shaq is smoking.
Like 20. It was like 1 week he had like 26,000 at one point. I'm like, what the 2,600? I'm like, what is he?
How?
Part of this league, so I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, I think he's pacing the league by about 700 points. So that's usually a week's worth of points for a team sometimes.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to playing Shaq.
Yeah, no.
Neither am I. But how's everybody's week? Queen, how was yours?
Queen
My week was fine. I mean, work. Nothing.
Work.
Pete, how was yours?
About the same. I mean, obviously, like I said, started the week off by finally getting the face uncovered. So starting to look normal there. But otherwise, a pretty normal week. Looking forward to this 3-day weekend. Definitely have needed it. And I'm not gonna have another good break until mid-March. Or no, mid-February.
Yeah. Matt, how was yours?
Just more or less trying to recover from being tortured by my family because they want to eat good when I can't. But neither here nor there. I mean, just trying to get back to normal. I'm trying to get to the point where I can eat sunflower seeds again. That's where I'm really at. Once I get it back, it's a wrap. I'm going on long trips. I'm taking a job to Georgia. Go check on my sister eating nothing but nacho cheese sunflower seeds. It's a wrap.
God.
Yeah.
Right.
You ever remember, those old Texas Western things where you got the people spitting the tobacco into the cans? That's gonna be Matt. That's gonna be Matt with the nacho cheese sunflowers. Just sitting there.
Anybody that grew up with me, they knew that was my snack of choice. Like everybody had, the little Debbie cakes, the Swiss rolls, and the grandma cake.
Surprised. You look like a sunflower seed person.
Yeah,
Matt was a bird in high school.
Definitely was. 100%. I definitely was.
Yeah, he came in with his puffy Fat Farm jacket and everything too.
Oh my God!
Yo, The winters we have it now, we need them puppy fat farm jackets back.
Right.
It hasn't been that cold. This has been one of the hottest Januaries on record.
Facts.
Yeah.
I haven't been cold. Yeah, I've been in hoodies. I only buy my kids jackets and you know, because they're Mia's from Philly, Maya's from Georgia. But when Mia was born, we moved to Georgia, so she never really got to experience cold like that. So I know I had to get them jackets. Shane is from New York. Shane's is a Brooklyn baby.
Shane's all right. Shane be outside.
Yeah, I got one of my cousins. She just got a job in North Carolina. She lives in Florida, and so they're moving. Her son and my aunt are all moving to North Carolina, and my aunt's already complaining because in North Carolina, their cold is gonna be like freezing for her because she's lived in Puerto Rico and Florida her whole life. So she ain't ready for that North Carolina cold. I'm like, you grew up in New York. She's like, yeah, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into today's quick hits. Here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new and improved quick hits of the Yerrr Sports Show here in 2020. And this week, we are sponsored by Stark Industries. When you want innovation in your home, buy Stark Industries.
I wish you would have told me that earlier.
I watched WandaVision last night. What can I say?
Right.
So let's get into the quick hits, and let's start with something that I know is near and dear to Tay's heart. Ladies and gentlemen, the NHL season has begun in almost like a mini bubble, too. They're only playing conferences are kept in their own bubble. They're playing all the conference teams together, and then they will be traveling to different bubbles to play non-conference teams. Another big story coming out of the NHL this week, actually, though, is Willie O'Ree. Willie O'Ree was the first black player in the NHL, and he will be honored by the Boston Bruins this year as his number 22 will be retired on February 18th. He's only the third black player in NHL history to have his number retired, and this is talking about a league where last year there were only 43 non-white players in the league. Less than 5% of the NHL last year was non-white. So Willie O'Ree, the first ever black player in the NHL, who, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, still alive to this day, will hopefully be there on February 18th when his number gets retired by the Boston Bruins. Moving on to the NCAA. If y'all saw it when Alabama put the hurt on Ohio State on Monday night.
The boom on them.
Alabama wins another national championship as they defeat Ohio State 52-34. Devontae Smith catches 12 balls for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. Najee Harris rushes for 2 touchdowns. And Mac Jones, the quarterback, 36 for 45, 464 yards, 5 total touchdowns from him. This was Nick Saban's 7th title overall, putting him in the number 1 spot. He was formerly tied with legendary coach Bear Bryant for most championships by a major college coach. Now Saban alone in first place. In the NBA, we're going to talk a lot about the NBA today, but the only other story coming out of the NBA this week is LeBron James apparently has changed his choice of soft drink. As after 17 years with Coca-Cola, LeBron James will be signing an endorsement contract with Pepsi. He is expected to be promoting Mountain Dew. And the big thing with this is Coke, Nike, and Upper Deck were the 3 contracts he signed prior to his rookie season and were his most long-standing endorsement deals. And now moving to Pepsi after 17 years with Coca-Cola. What a huge get by Pepsi, getting LeBron James on board there. Now let's move to the NFL, where it has been hot stove season. While the playoffs are going on, everybody else making moves. Last night we got word that the Atlanta Falcons have hired Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith to be their next head coach. He's only 38 years old. The Titans achieved unprecedented balance on offense under Smith. They ranked 4th in scoring, 3rd in total yards, and 2nd in rushing last year. And so he will now be taking over for the Falcons. The Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll is the apparent favorite for the Chargers job. Apparently, long-standing connections to general manager Tom Telesco. They both played high school football together, went to the same high school, so deep connections there. Let's see if that goes through with a contract. Obviously, with the Bills still in the playoffs, Brian Daboll cannot be offered or negotiate for the job. The New York Jets, and me and Matt were celebrating this one slightly, not too much, slightly earlier this week as the Jets have hired 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their new head coach. Mentored by Pete Carroll, who was a former Jets coach himself, and we've seen what he done in Seattle. He is expected to be good for Sam Darnold, as he is bringing his expected offensive coordinator is Mike LaFleur, the brother of Packers coach Matt LaFleur. And they run a Kyle Shanahan run-heavy option kind of get the quarterback out the pocket offense. So considered to be good for Darnold, but Robert Saleh really hired to change the culture at one Jets drive. A lot of great things coming out about Robert Saleh in this hire. I know that a lot of teams were high on him, but the Jets have hired him. Speaking of Jets coaches, by the way, former Jets head coach Adam Gase, who we all thought would be banned from football for the rest of his life after what he did to the New York Jets, apparently is the front runner for the Philadelphia Eagles coaching job. Out with Doug Peterson, in with Adam Gase, it seems. Now, again, no contract has been signed, but he is considered the front runner for that.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes.
Really quickly, wrapping up the NFL, apparently linebacker Von Miller, Denver linebacker Von Miller, is under investigation in Colorado. Nothing has been really revealed about what he's being investigated for, or if there's charges or anything. But he missed last season due to an ankle injury suffered before the season started, and he is under investigation right now. He will be entering the last year of his deal with Denver. And wrapping up our quick hits for this week, going to the MLB. The Yankees finally became the Yankees again, making some free agent moves, as the Yankees have made the long-awaited re-signing of DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu has re-signed with the New York Yankees, 6 years, $90 million, a win on both sides. LeMahieu does not get his $100 million, but does get his long-term deal that he was looking for. And the Yankees get to stay under the luxury tax by his average yearly salary only coming out to $15 million a year instead of closer to 18.5 or 20 million. Then later that night, word comes out that the Yankees have signed free agent pitcher Corey Kluber to a 1-year, $11 million deal. Two-time Cy Young winner is Kluber, was 98 and 58 over 9 seasons with the Cleveland Indians. He did miss his final season with the Indians after breaking his right forearm, getting hit by a pitch that came back to him, and then was signed by Texas and missed his only season with Texas last year after having a shoulder injury before the season started. So Corey Kluber, 2-time Cy Young winner, 3-time All-Star. Yankees hoping to really recapture that magic from him. And oddly enough, their strength and conditioning coach is leading the rehab for Corey Kluber. So the Yankees might have had some inside information on how well his rehab is going. And last on Quick Hit, something that I want to kind of hear your takes on. There has been a proposed and talked about, nothing official yet, but proposed change to the designated hitter rule in baseball. So as we know, last year for the shortened season, the Major League Baseball allowed for the DH to be universal, using both the National and the American League. This year, it has not been approved whether or not that's going to be the case, but conversation has started that one of the ideas is that the DH will come back universally, But when you remove your pitcher, your starting pitcher from the game, you lose your DH unless you put your DH in the field to play a position. If you do not put your DH in the field to play a position, either your pitchers will have to bat instead of the DH, or you will have to replace them with pinch hitters every single time. Obviously, with the way the bullpens have been working in analytics the last few years, this is likely to get some pushback from Major League Baseball coaches and front offices. But personally, as an old school baseball fan who loved it when starting pitchers went 7, 8 innings through complete games, I really like it because it makes your starting pitchers go deeper, and it makes you have to be a little bit more precise with how you're moving pitchers in and out, because once you take your pitcher out, you're going to lose your DH, and now you're going to have to rapidly go through your bench unless your pitchers can hit. And on the other side, on the American League, maybe the pitchers finally learn how to hit. I don't know. What do you guys think about this proposed change to the DH rule?
Me personally, it just makes teams have to be more creative in terms of subbing in and out their pitchers. I know we had a conversation yesterday, and you were talking along the lines of now teams should probably have to keep their pitchers in a lot longer so you can have that DH in a lot longer, so you don't have to sub for somebody probably who's not as good of a hitter as your DH.
You think of the Yankees, right? Like Giancarlo Stanton is likely to be the DH.
Right.
You know, so now, okay, Giancarlo Stanton can play in the outfield, so you can switch him into the outfield and keep him in your lineup. But now that means you're going to have to lose one of your starting outfielders. Are you willing to sit Aaron Judge? Are you willing to sit Aaron Hicks? Are you willing to sit whoever else is playing in the outfield in order to put Giancarlo out there, risk injury? We know how Giancarlo is out there. So, just thinking on that one example, there you go, Dre.
Yeah. And also, it's just, I also think it gives teams more flexibility as well in terms of injury prevention too, because that DH can be any one of your power hitters. If one day you don't want if we're going with the Yankees, because that's the home team, we're going with the Yankees, and maybe you don't want Aaron Judge out on the field. Maybe Aaron Judge is kind of hurt or slightly hurt. I would put Aaron Judge in the DH spot and then put LeMahieu out on the field. It just, it gives you options as well, not just for, making sure you keep the pitcher in, but, for hitters as well.
So for clarification, this is just the Major League Baseball variation of load management, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, you could say that what they've been doing now with analytics is kind of load management, because you've had like this idea of like the opener for the last 2 or 3 years, where now teams, instead of having 5 starting pitchers, will have 4, and then on the 5th day they'll go into their bullpen, start a long reliever for like 2 innings, and then go relief pitcher after relief pitcher every single inning, which can kind of tax your bullpen. So now that kind of takes that out, because if you do the opener and your opener only goes 2 innings, you now lose your DH after only 1 at bat, if your DH even got to a bat in the first 2 innings.
Okay, so in other words, it's just more or less like a card game in a sense. It's like after a few days, you got to go back and you got to look at your cards and see how you're going to play it. In all honesty, that's just what it is. So, it's normal. It's not much of a change. It's just something to it's just something to plan better for certain games. Reiterate your roster a little bit to make it seem so it makes more sense, and you can relieve certain pitchers. That's all it is to me. Man, it's cool. I want to see it play out more or less before I have more of an opinion for it.
Same sentiments, Queen, as Matt. Yeah, I get you. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Quick Hits for the week of January 16th.
Yes, sir.
Good job, Pete. Good job, Pete. So let's go get into today's topics. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new head coach in Jacksonville. His name is Mr. Urban Meyer, one of the greatest college head coaches of all time, one of the greatest. With a stacked resume, he's coached for 4 different schools, which include the team that just got trounced in the in the national championship game, as well as Bowling Green, Utah, and Florida. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars in an interesting situation. They have over $100 million in cap and 11 draft picks, including the first overall pick, which will likely be Trevor Lawrence. With that being said, what type of noise do you think Jacksonville will make, and can Urban Meyer make a difference? Queen, I'm going to start with you.
Well, definitely he can make a difference. I mean, you can't be as bad as you've been recently and over the past couple of seasons. And I feel like with the 11 picks and the salary cap, they have a chance to really rebuild and really refocus. So I think that it's definitely a good thing for them. I don't know if it's going to be impactful next season, but I feel like he'll be good with Trevor Lawrence if they draft him, and he'll be good with the rookie players that they're going to get. 11 rookie players, that's a lot.
So agreed. It is a lot of rookie players, and it's just, and a lot of them will be going to skill positions, I believe. Like they need some receivers, they need another back, they need
a miracle.
Matt, since you mentioned,
but really, they don't really need a miracle. I mean, they're already leaps and bounds ahead of the Jets at this point, even going into the next season. You get what I'm saying? I feel as if
I'm not going to pop the fish for you. I'm not doing this right now. We're not going to talk about the Jets. I got to save all my energy because I already. You know what?
Listen, your internet don't want you to have that energy, bro.
Your internet already knows. What's coming next?
Matt, please tell me your thoughts on the signing of Urban Meyer.
It's a good step in the next position, but honestly, it's in a rebuilding stage. At the end of the day, they're going young, and you don't never know what you really have until you play it, and that's just where Jacksonville is at right now. They just finished 1-15, so yeah, they might get Trevor Lawrence, which I'm kind of disappointed about. Pete's not, but I am. So I mean, they're moving in steps that they might make some noise, not nowhere in the near future, but we'll see what happens in like 3 or 4 years. But I mean, it's cool. It's a good pickup. You never know what could come out of that. It's a good pickup.
I feel you. Professor, what do you think?
You're on mute, bro.
Your mic is muted.
Mute, bro.
Your mic is muted.
Oh, there we go.
Y'all pulled me just now. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, it's going to be not that hard to be better than what they were, right? The Jaguars became one of the first teams in a long time to give up an average of 20 points a game this whole season in every game they played. So it's not going to be that hard to be better. The issue with Urban Meyer coming to the NFL is the issue we have with any college coach. This isn't college, right? You don't have the same kind of control, right? You're used to working with students between the ages of 18 to 22, whose their entire career depends on you, right? You don't want to play them, they don't get played. They're not beholden to you. You cut them off the team. NFL's completely different. While the coaches do have power in the NFL, the coaches are largely figureheads, right? Player don't want to play. Player wants to make a stink. The coach can't really get on them the way they can in college. So that's going to be one of the bigger things. Can Urban Meyer command the respect of men, right, who make millions of dollars? And we have seen in just about any sport, when you start taking a game, a child's game, and you start putting millions of dollars next to it, people become very entitled. I don't got to do something because I make millions of dollars. What you going to do? right? But from a football standpoint, from a record standpoint, he went 83-9 over 7 seasons in Ohio State and won a national championship. He went 65-15 over 6 seasons in Florida, won 2 national championships. He's won in every stop and transformed the team every single time. When he took over at Bowling Green, they were nobodies. He came in, turned them into winners. He then goes to Utah. They were terrible. In the 2-3 seasons he was in Utah, turned them into winners, going to bowl games. Then he goes to Florida. Then he goes to Ohio State. When he went to Florida, we were coming off Steve Spurrier time. Right. Florida had a number of bad years after Spurrier had left and in the years after, and he turns them into a 2-time national championship winner in what? I think it was relatively 2 seasons that he did that turnaround. And then he goes to Ohio State and turned Ohio State into a national title contender. If many people remember, he won the first college football championship when they changed the playoff format with Ohio State. Right. He was the first one to do that. So we know that Urban Meyer can win, but the question is going to be whether or not he can take that respect and that panache that he has as a college coach, commanding kids between the ages of 18 and 22, and translate that to helping to lead multimillionaire athletes in Jacksonville. Now, the fact that he's going to have so many young players, Trevor Lawrence coming in, is going to help him, but it's going to be a question for me is how do veterans fit in? Right. How does a veteran fit in going to Jacksonville if they try to sign somebody as a free agent or bring somebody in? You know, when veterans go to New England, and we talk basketball, when veterans go to San Antonio, Greg Popovich, Bill Belichick, those coaches, they've built up the reputation where no matter who that player is, they fall back into the system and they become a part of the system. Mm-hmm. How quickly is Urban Meyer going to be able to create that? Because that's going to be key. If he can do that, if he can create a system where they feel comfortable falling into that system, I think he's going to be fine. But if not, I feel like you're going to have trouble with veteran players going to Jacksonville, and that's what you're going to need to get over the hump.
Nobody wants to go to Jacksonville right now anyway, so I think they have a chance to start anew.
I don't think Urban Meyer is even going to be.
I think Carson wants to go over there.
He can go. Yeah. Take him. Somebody can take him.
Well, they're going to need a backup for Trevor Lawrence, and I don't think what's his face?
Take Trevor Lawrence though?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not.
I think the Jets might get Carson Wentz.
No, I think if here's my thing though. If the Jets keep Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. I think the number 2 pick either has to be Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama, or Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama.
100%.
I feel like we need a receiver.
If they keep Sam Darnold, one of those 2 players needs to be the pick. I don't think you need to go quarterback. What I think you do is you get a veteran quarterback, maybe even like a Carson Wentz, just to be the backup. Because I'd rather have him as a backup to a guy like Sam. Because here's the thing. Say what we want to say about Carson Wentz maybe this year and the years that he's been injured, but when he's been healthy, okay, outside of this season, he's played well.
Oh, please.
I'm sorry. Is he worked the contract that he's owed? You know, like no. you're okay with paying that out. That's what you're talking.
Oh no, I'm not taking him in for big money. Heck no.
Okay,
Heck no.
That's what I'm saying. He's still gonna be owed that money. I'm not.
No, we don't pay him what he's owed. Well, Philly pays him what he's owed. We signed him to a new deal. I'm not giving him
less. You think he's not gonna go for less?
But he knows his stock is not what it was.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
But you know what, though? I thought with the whole Philly debacle, just really briefly, I knew that one of them were going to be on a chopping block. And it shows me that it was Doug Peterson. That means I think they're still committed to Wentz. I think they feel as if I think they are. Because if they weren't.
It's too much money.
It's not worth it. At the end of the day, they're still the losers in it because
it's a fact.
They almost never get their season's money's worth because he's almost always injured.
Right. So if you get rid of Wentz, who are you going to have behind Jalen?
It's not even just the injuries. He's not consistent, and that's the problem that a lot of people are not like being real to, especially Philly. Philly is a diehard like City, they will ride until the wheels fall off, and that's cool. That is honorable. But we need to realistically, Carson Wentz he's sometimes he. Let's be 100% clear. I don't think Carson Wentz wins that Super Bowl. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't at all.
Not at all.
There's nothing that there's not enough stats in the world that can show me Carson Wentz is beating that New England team. I don't care how iffy that New England team was.
New England came into that game cocky.
They
came into that game cocky.
It's New England. It's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Yeah. They have all rights to be cocky. They have all rights.
But even after they lost to the dance by an underdog twice, you get what I'm saying? You should have been a little bit wiser coming into that. And the Giants as a team, when they beat the Patriots, were better as the Eagles as a team when they beat the Patriots.
But realistically, do you really feel like they had the team to even make it to the Super Bowl?
Who?
New England. The year that they played Philadelphia. Exactly. So, I mean, they have all rights to be cocky. I don't feel like they had the team. Don't get me wrong. They had a pretty decent team. They were well coached, and they had the right quarterback. The right quarterback. Quarterback.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But as far as all the teams that they had before, to make it to where they made it in the situation that they were in, they had all right to be cocky. Philadelphia went in there with an edge.
I don't know, man. Because they went almost perfect in the season and lost the big dance. You get what I'm saying? Like we always say, it's any given Sunday. And I feel as if the Eagles came to play and the Patriots came to fumble. And I do agree with you, Matt, that if it were Carson Wentz, I don't see the same result. I think Nick Foles showed heart in a way that Carson never did. And I think that was a key to some of the early Bears' success during the season, too.
Facts.
Foles is a better quarterback than people give him credit for. I think that he is on the, I wouldn't say upper echelon. I wouldn't say the Bradys, the Breezes, the Rodgers, the even the Wilsons, but I put him head and shoulders above some of the others that we spend too much time talking about anyway. So back to Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like it, in just closing out my opinion, I just feel as if this gives Jacksonville the best advantage that they've had in a long time. I mean, we haven't heard anything of note from the Jacksonville Jaguars since Tom Coughlin took over at some point a few years back. But I think they have a chance to start over. It's a relatively newer league now, too. You have a lot of changing of the guard, so they have an opportunity. And I feel that even if they take a rookie quarterback, they need a veteran at the backup because these rookie quarterbacks, I mean, they're phenomenal on the field and all that stuff, but injury prone. I mean, almost every big-time rookie that's come over the past few years have suffered a devastating injury at some point or another.
And to piggyback off that, to end this topic, I talked about this a while ago, and we can have an episode about injuries and how they come into play. But a lot of these players are playing from like 4 years old with no kind of rest in between, and it's putting a lot of mileage on their bodies, but their conditioning hasn't always been the best, especially sometime in college. A lot of times in college, and I've seen it, and I know some of my guys in college, the conditioning and training that we think they're getting, them not all of them are getting it. So, but we just discussed about New England being cocky, right? Let's talk about the Steelers and how cocky they were just to get trounced last weekend. And that people are still chirping back and forth between the teams. Claymore is his last name, Pete?
Yep.
Was discussing about the Browns being disrespectful to Juju Smith-Schuster in the game and in the game and after the game. But let's not forget, Juju Smith-Schuster did tell the media that he's not concerned, and they're playing the same old Browns. Now, there's still been chirping back and forth between them, but the Browns have a very big game coming up this weekend against the Super Bowl contenders. the Super Bowl winners. I apologize, the Chiefs. Matt, I'll start with you. Are the Browns wasting their energy and on the wrong thing right now?
Of course, the Browns need to focus on the task at hand. They have a big task at hand. Let's get it straight. I don't think they have a chance in hell against Kansas City. Let's be honest. But if again we go back to any given Sunday, anybody like the sun can shine and in a winter day, and anything can happen on any given Sunday. So Baker Mayfield, you need to step up and figure it out. Y'all need to stop thinking about everything else. Focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is getting to the Super Bowl. Granted, it's Cleveland. The only thing good to ever come out of Cleveland is LeBron James. But
and the Drew Carey show.
You said the truth. What's he talking about? I like hot in Cleveland, but it's neither here nor there. But that's because of Betty White. But that's different. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, you need to focus on the task at hand, and that's Patrick Mahomes and that offense. And the only way you even stand a chance is to have some sort of a shootout, which I feel like Baker Mayfield is capable of having. But you have to outshoot out the king right now. The king. I don't care what nobody say. Patrick Mahomes is the king of the NFL right now. He is the face. He is the face. And he has all right to be named that. So all the outside chatter, wrong time, wrong place. I mean, it's the playoffs. Super Bowl's a couple weeks from now. Minding the game. Any given Sunday. If you want to add more light to that franchise and to your name, you need to pull off this W this weekend. Because ain't no bigger light than knocking out the defending champions right now and the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
I don't think they necessarily need to win to have that light shine on them. I think they just don't need to get blown out, because it looks like a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs are going to win this game. But
that's why I say
again,
if they're the favorites,
like, you just need to not get blown out.
But what if they win, Dre?
Who?
Cleveland. What if they win?
I don't know. Let me tell you something. Just to piggyback off a couple of things that you said, Matt, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't feel that Mahomes is the face of the league yet. I feel as if when you have a league that still has the Rodgers, the Bradys, the Brees, you know what I'm saying? They're still the face of the league, right? And even Roethlisberger to an extent. I feel that the beef between the Steelers and the Browns, yes, the Steelers, I think Juju Smith-Schuster said they were the same old Browns the day before they played, you get what I'm saying? And then, the Browns beat the brakes off of them. I think that it was a blowout before the first quarter. I mean, Pittsburgh caught up to an extent, but the celebrations that the Browns were doing during the game, you get what I'm saying, were classless to me. You get what I'm saying? I feel like you were already showing them that they were eating their words by your playing, like Matt was saying. Let your play speak for it. You don't have to do all that like nincompoop nonsense to show dominance, and I think it's kind of immature. And if I were the Steelers, I would be aggravated. You get what I'm saying? No, I don't also, see the Browns beating the Chiefs at this point, because you can't compare an almost broke down. The Steelers team, like Dre had said from the beginning of the season, they did have a relatively cupcake schedule in a way that they looked stronger than where they were. So by the time the games actually mattered, they were exposed. You get what I'm saying? And I feel as if you're not getting that with the Chiefs. What I'm really realizing too, the Chiefs have not been in many narratives throughout the season because they're already the de facto winners, by all intents and purposes. So, even though when I look at the level of play, the game is still very much for the taking. But I don't see it being with the Browns. And I think the Browns need to grow up. They have a reputation for doing these immature bonehead things during games. And at the end of the day, you're finally getting to a point where people are taking you serious. So now it's time for you to act that way as well.
And to be clear, I don't choose the Browns over the Chiefs. Let's get that clear.
No, we'll get to that. We'll definitely
I'm
get
still mad at you, Ray, for that Ravens Titans thing.
That's not my fault. You should have picked what I picked.
It was your fault because I said Ravens, and then you have the worst record in this whole thing. You did that on purpose. Am I right?
Pete, stay out of it. Stay out of it.
Am I right?
Pete is quiet.
Out of it.
Right?
Stay out of it, Pete.
Am I right?
No,
I invoke my right for the Fifth Amendment.
But I have to piggyback that. I have another question for you to answer, and Pete, I want you to answer after Tay does. What does this mean for Ben Roethlisberger? Because he did not play the best. He still got close to or over 500 yards.
He still, I still think he. I mean, you can't say somebody didn't play the best and they threw for almost 500 yards.
With the turnovers, but still, the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't feel like Ben Roethlisberger was the reason why they lost that game. I thought it was Juju. Juju playing wise, or Juju hyping up the Browns
Juju
to go Super Saiyan.
And I feel like Connor didn't really show. Connor hasn't been showing up all season.
I'm sorry.
At all.
I'm sorry, Pete. I'm sorry, Pete and Tay, but honestly, what does really Ben Roethlisberger have to prove at this point?
He's still all right. This is the thing. This is you know what? We always get into these things and we say that people don't have much of proof because they already won and they've been to the dance.
No, it's not necessarily the Super Bowl. It's just he's revered. He's revered. We all know what Ben Roethlisberger is capable of.
Right, but the thing is,
we can't even blame the Steelers for it.
Is he? Oh, but it comes to the point where, when you start seeing somebody winding down, and he's a part of that draft class that a few of them are already hanging up their boots, right?
Right.
So I feel as if he does. I think, where does he go from here? I think he goes at least one more season. I think you give him that chance to play a full season. See, you no matter how the Steelers play, even if they didn't go 11-0 in the beginning of the season in the cupcake schedule, they were very much still in the playoff contention. So let's not forget that too. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that the Steelers are always in playoff contention, especially over the past 15, 16 years. They've always been in either the Super Bowl talks or the divisional round talks and stuff like that. So I don't think we use this opportunity to kind of say it's time for him to ride off into the sunset. I still think he has something left. 500 yards is a feat. You get what I'm saying? It's not easy at all. And the fact that he can still use his arm in those capacities, it works. Ben is a little injury prone too. Don't get me wrong either. Especially over the past few years, I think he's played half seasons. But I think that Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, I think that they stick with him next year and see where it goes from there. But where was Connor? Where was all their players? I feel like they all disappeared over the past few weeks. It was like a tale of two teams.
I feel like the skill positions were being scary. The receivers and the backs were playing scary, and even Ebron, he wasn't playing the best either. Pete, what is your opinions on this?
So first of all, Cleveland deserves to talk their ish, right? They won their first playoff game in almost 18 years. Right, almost 2 decades. They beat the Steelers of all teams. Granted, the Steelers were not the Steelers that we've known them to be. So I do agree that they get to talk a little ish. But as Matt said, the focus then needs to be, and very quickly needs to be, on Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, right? Because beating Pittsburgh in the first round loses its luster if you get blown out by Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes in the next game. To touch on what Tay said, yes, there are you have to straddle that line between how do you talk your ish in a classy way and still get your trash talk off, and doing it classlessly. If anyone, listen, if they want to go after Juju Smith-Schuster, so they should. Juju should know better than to put bulletin board material on anybody, okay? Because we all know in the NFL, anybody can be anybody on any given day, okay? And Juju thought that he was going to sit there and be like, well, the Steelers are just going to win because it's the Steelers. And y'all got beat. Y'all got the brakes beat off of you in that game, okay? Cleveland outscored you 28-0 in the first quarter, okay? That game was close only because of what they did later on in the game, right? Roethlisberger threw 68 passes, 501 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. As Tay said, Connor ran for 37 yards, right? This is a running back that has been non-existent all season. Roethlisberger has no choice but to air it out all year, okay? Steelers football is tough, hard-nosed defense, run the football, make the passes you need to make, okay? And they've not been able to do that this year. They have not, right? Roethlisberger is one of only 2 quarterbacks remaining from his class, the other being Phillip Rivers. Eli Manning has already retired, okay? Rivers moved on from San Diego, okay? He went to Indianapolis. People don't know if he's going to stay there this year, right? This may be it for Ben, right? He doesn't have anything left to prove. I think Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, are certifiable Hall of Famers. Phillip Rivers, I think, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl title, will be a guy that, based on the level of his statistical makeup, will make it to the Hall of Fame. The only thing that's holding Phillip Rivers back is he never won a Super Bowl, right? But Big Ben and Eli Manning, certifiable Hall of Famers, even if Ben walks away right now, right? From what they've done on the field. When it comes to, the Browns and the Chiefs, I don't think many people are giving the Browns opportunities, but look at the difference of how the Chiefs are approaching this game to how the Steelers approach this game. You haven't heard Kansas City say one negative thing about Cleveland. Not one negative thing. Their focus is on winning the game, right? The Steelers, Juju, and other people came out and said what they said about the Browns. And now they got to eat those words. So if the Browns want to go and clown Juju Smith-Schuster, they are more than welcome to, because he said that they couldn't do it, and they went out there and did it. And all of us have been in a situation in our lives, whether it be in sports or our regular lives, where people don't think we can do something, and that is just nothing but added motivation to make us do it and do it well and throw it in their face in one way or another, either publicly or privately.
Shout out to the show.
Shout out to Lance Stevenson.
Right. When it comes to Ben, like, look, I think Ben's hurt. I think something's up with Ben. I really think Ben is hurt. I don't think Ben was playing at full capacity, especially near the end of the season. If Ben walked away at the end of this season, when it's all said and done, I as a player, for what he's done on the field, I harbor no ill will towards Ben Roethlisberger. I think he's been one of the greatest quarterbacks we've been able to watch over the last, 15, 16 years. Okay. I want what I want is I wanted to see Tomlin win more than I wanted to see Ben win. Because I feel like when you talk about people that nobody doesn't get enough respect, Bill Cowher has been retired for over a decade. And people still talk about Bill Cowher in higher regards than they do Mike Tomlin. And that's not to say that Bill Cowher isn't a legendary coach, because he is. Okay, Bill Cowher is great. But Mike Tomlin deserves his roses. And I think Mike Tomlin's ability as a coach has been long overshadowed by some of the names on the Steelers: Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger. So if Ben retires, I would love to see the Steelers kind of retool, because I'd love to see what Mike Tomlin will do with a team that's kind of starting from the bottom and doesn't have those star players clogging everything up.
Got you. While we're on the topic of Browns and Chiefs, let's get into our pick four. Sorry, no graphic for the pick four. So Browns and Chiefs. Who y'all got?
Are you really asking that question?
As the host of the show, I have to ask the question. So I'm taking the Chiefs.
We all taking
This
the
should
Chiefs.
be.
We all taking the Chiefs.
Well, listen, analytics tell us.
Stop it, Pete.
Stop it, Pete.
We don't have the time for it.
Cut it out.
Pick the Chiefs. Let's go. Come on.
I'm sorry, I missed the one thing. Okay, what is the records this week, Pete?
I don't want to hear it.
Tay is no. Well, you do want to hear this because you and I are tied for second at 41-28. We are tied for second at 41-28. Tay is only one meager game ahead of us. Okay. And I'm about to start sending my picks in via mail so that Tay doesn't know who I picked.
Okay. Let me tell you something. Right. There was no stretch at any point of this season, right?
Yes, it was. I was first at one point.
You were never first.
I was first at one point. Tay was.
Right. I wasn't.
Matt was first for like a week.
Yeah, there was at least
longer
1 week.
than a week. It was longer than a week. At least it was 2-3 weeks.
The first week, you dragging it in.
It's been mostly between me and Tay for the number one spot, but Tay's been in the lead for most of the time.
Okay. Yeah. There's been times that I didn't. You have to play strategic. Like the queen can move on the board wherever she pleases. And at the end of the day,
now we're talking trash.
If you make no, Pete's been talking some heavy duty trash over the past couple of weeks.
You missed it, bruh.
Because Tay waits for me. Because what Tay does,
now y'all trying to say that I just follow behind y'all. Y'all know, Alexa, play So Emotional by Whitney Houston, please, for these guys.
It's understandable if we all get the L, you're still in the lead. We get what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Right. And if we all get the W, you get the W, and you're still in the lead.
It's strategic.
It just can't be that I know what the hell I'm doing, right? It has to be.
I didn't say you did it.
I'm following behind two high school.
I know what you're doing.
Or I'm following behind two high school semi-greats, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Look, you gotta know what you're doing in order to have been in the league. So
I don't have to hurt my head about it. You guys hurt your head about them. I don't care about certain games. I had to pick against my own team too many times.
You have no choice. They suck. What kind of question? What kind of really? Yes, the Giants suck.
The nerve of you.
No,
the nerve. We can say that, Dre, because you haven't.
Just as bad as the Canarsie High School football team.
But you haven't put a jet game. You haven't put a single jet game on the schedule.
That ain't my school.
Yeah, I have no reason to put a jet game on the schedule.
Right. So we can say that because Tay can pick against the Giants because the Giants have been terrible. If we had a jet game on the schedule, me and Matt probably pick against the Jets.
There's no reason to pick. There's no reason to pick a team that's y'all wow.
That's right. And we had reason to put the Giants in rotation. We had reason to put
any Giants games until they were almost playoff contenders. So let's be real there. But anyway,
we only put four Giants games on there. And they were all division games.
All right.
They were all division games.
So much trash. Ray, I'm gonna make sure I pick first, right? So for this round, I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs.
We all picked them.
Who's next? Who's next? Because y'all trying to downplay me.
Pete, this is what I'm talking about. You should.
I don't even. You know the thing is,
I had one chance. You had one chance to get in front of her.
I don't
even have to be dealing with this right now. You realize that, right?
I give y'all so much platform to speak your piece, right? And the thing is, what I get in return is the fact that, she copied off of my picks. Oh, she don't know what she's.
No one said that. No one said that second part.
Nobody said that. Cut me off. That's why when it's Tavia's tea time, y'all better show up and see.
That's what I'm saying. We go ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
No,
this is a paid announcement.
no, it ain't.
Okay.
Don't try to save face
for those-
now. It's about-
For those
y'all
of
done
y'all,
messed up.
no, for those of y'all,
all the segments that day.
for those of y'all who watch and listen to the Yerrr Sports Show on a wholly weekly basis, please do not be surprised when one of these episodes probably looks like you watching Bridgerton, okay, and we out here, okay, in some old 1765 attire, okay. This is what's gonna happen.
It's not gonna be Bridgerton. It's gonna be more Harlem Renaissance.
I like
okay.
it.
Okay.
I like it. So
As long as I can come in looking like Red Fox.
And then you know what the theme song's gonna be? Shotgun, that old school. Shotgun.
I thought it was gonna be across 110th Street, but okay.
That's Spanish Harlem. We don't count that.
What's wrong with Spanish Harlem?
all right. So before we get into our argument, that's not a show related.
There's always dog crap all over that part of Harlem, and I don't like it.
Rams Packers.
You know where I'm going.
I'm going with the Rams.
I feel like this is the hardest game to pick
Yes.
because I feel as if while Aaron Rodgers, I have to admit that I have not given him enough props this season. I still don't think use Mike. Use him.
I love it when
Yeah, like I was saying, I did not give him enough credit, but I still don't feel like he's MVP. He's probably going to be MVP, but I still don't see him as MVP.
Look.
Me personally, I could have given him a little bit more respect, like saying that he's not washed up, that he's not overrated. Those things that I have been saying. So I'm woman enough to say that he's not fully washed or rinsed. He's still in the cycle of putting the clothes in the washing machine. He's not there yet, though. He's not washed. So at the end of the you cannot know. I'm speaking. Mr. Miller, I'm speaking.
I'm saying they know he's top two. You forgot to add that. He's top two. Russell Wilson does not need to be top two. Make sure you put that, please.
Wait, what?
Russell Wilson does not need to be top two. As far as MVP rating, let's go. Come on. I need to hear that.
I understand you because sometimes you speak like you're from down south. Sometimes you speak like you're from Brooklyn. Sometimes you speak like you're from like.
That got to do with the situation, Tay. That got to do with the situation, Tay. I want to hear that. Don't try to come in my accent. Don't try to come in my accent.
I'm not understanding the cadence in what you're saying. So what are you saying to me right now?
I'm saying you need to admit that Aaron Rodgers need to be in the top two and not Russell Wilson, who is the MVP.
Well, I'm still going to say that Russell Wilson, to me, was more valuable to the league than Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Not wrong, not the league. TikTok. Definitely TikTok. He's the MVP of TikTok. Shout out to Sierra. Go ahead. Admit it.
Anyways, I could have been a little more fair because I think I was still upset the fact that they tied him with Brady as the top quarterback of the decade last year. And given that, which he wasn't, you get what I'm saying? He wasn't the top quarterback of the 2010, 2020s.
Matt, and you agreed with that when we did the episode.
Yeah, he was not. He was not number one. He should have not been tied for number one. Okay? He should have not. And I do feel the Packers, like I've said, should have put a little bit more respect on him. I do feel that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this is the hardest game out of all the other ones. While I do think the Packers take it, because I do feel that the Rams defense is strong.
Very strong.
But it is strong enough to withstand the veteran presence of Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
She said the veteran presence. You just need to say that man.
I'm not saying none of that.
Queen, who are you taking?
I'm taking the Packers.
All right.
Dre, you said you're taking the Rams?
Yes.
Tay says she's taking the Packers. Matt, did you pick?
I already know who I'm picking.
He picked the Packers.
He picked the Chicago Bears.
Don't play with me.
I forgot who the Rams beat last week.
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's not the Packers, so
Well,
yeah.
Here's the issue. This is the 8th time in NFL history, 8th time in the playoffs, NFL history, that the number one defense will be playing the number one offense. And we know the old adage, defense wins championships, but the correlation is actually not. It is in the favor of defense, but not like staunchly. The number one defense is 4-3 in playoff history against the number one offense. Okay. The number one offense has only won in 2015 when Carolina beat Seattle, in 1997 when Denver beat Kansas City, and in 1993 when San Francisco spanked the Giants 44-3.
You just had to say spanked, huh?
Yes, it is.
Bobby, that's what I'm talking about.
But the number one defense has won 4 times. The Giants had the number one defense in 1990 when they defeated Buffalo. The Seattle Seahawks had the number one defense in 2013 when they brutalized Denver and left them on 8 points in the Super Bowl. Okay. Seattle also had the number one defense in 2014 when they beat Green Bay in the divisional round, and New England had the number one defense in 2016 when they beat Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
But come on, Atlanta, they fumbled it bad, man.
Very true. Very
Let me
true.
say something. Nobody has blown a lead like that since COVID in the U.S.
Yikes.
You know, and so this and I think this all goes back to Tay's original point, which I think is 100% the truth. This is the hardest game to pick this week. We got Jared Goff coming back with the miracle thumb. He will be starting again, and not the financial analyst, Mr. Wofford. It's hard for me because the Rams have a really great defense. They can really shut teams down. And the Packers barely beat them earlier in the year. I'm going to pick the Packers, but barely. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think this might be the lowest scoring game for the Packers in this playoffs.
I think the thing is, when you look at where the advantages and the disadvantages are. Yeah, Pete's going with the Packers. He said so.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. When you look at the advantages, right? Who has the quarterback advantage to you? Aaron Rodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goff is not a bad quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
He's not.
Yeah, I think he's better than what people has given him credit for. When you look at like the specialty positions, who do you feel has the advantage? I feel like the offensive. Like we've said, the offensive side goes to the Packers. I don't feel that their defense is strong enough to withstand that offense. I think that offense is strong. Now, like you said, I don't see that this being a high-scoring game at all. I see that. Where does the Packers rank as far as defense is concerned? I'm pretty sure they're not towards the bottom.
They're not
great, but they're not bad either.
No, they have some suspect defensive ends though. So Jared Goff could get it going.
Yeah.
The defensive line of the Rams is better than the defensive line of the Packers, but the linebackers on the Packers are better than the linebackers and stuff that's on the Rams.
I'm just still worried about the thumb. That's more or less what I'm worried about, the thumb.
According to the teams left in the playoffs, they're ranking the Packers as the 4th best defense in the playoffs.
And the Rams are the 1st best defense?
Rams first, Saints second.
Really?
Yeah, Saints actually have a silently good defense.
Not silent at all.
The Saints have never as long as everybody has watched football, the Saints and defense just don't sound good together.
Yeah, it doesn't. They have
statistically. Their offense has been good.
No, but statistically speaking, their defense has been good this year, and it's the 2nd best defense in the playoffs.
But silently, though, Pete, silently,
it's very silent. That is at a hush. So
we get to the next game. That's the next game that we're about to talk about because we all picked the Packers except for Dre.
Yeah, of course.
So that's
Ravens Bills. Oh, did you pick? I'm sorry, Matt. No, you picked. Okay.
Everybody picked.
Ravens Bills.
This is it's hard for me.
I'm going with Buffalo.
I'm going with Buffalo as well. I think it's tough for me. I think the Ravens got by last week. There's talking maybe snow in Buffalo this weekend, which actually does favor Lamar Jackson, right? Because he's the best running quarterback in the NFL. But
has he played in snow? Has he played
he
good
has
in
not
snow?
played. He hasn't. I don't think he's played in snow.
That's the key.
But I think Buffalo, in my opinion, Buffalo was my pick, especially the way they played this year to make it to the AFC Championship game. I think it's going to be Buffalo versus Kansas City at the end of this. So I'm taking Buffalo. I think Josh Allen has a lot to prove. Unless Baltimore pulls something out of its behind, I don't think they win. I think it's a competitive game, but I don't think they win this game.
Let's be clear. I think the only team that's capable of even knocking off Kansas City is Buffalo, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm so serious.
In terms of in their division,
yeah,
yes,
I feel like
I give you that. I'm not too high on Baltimore beating Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl
at all,
but Bills maybe. Go ahead, Tate.
Defense or not.
Lamar Jackson looked scary last week.
He did.
To be honest with you, and
he did.
My gut told me to go with the Ravens last week, right? Now, just like the Packers-Rams game, this one is a tough one to call because at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson has a lot to prove, just as Josh Allen does. It's just two sides of the coin. While I'm going to go with the Bills, can I tell you that I feel that the Ravens are going to take it?
I mean, to go along with what you're saying, this game importance, it's more or less that number 2 spot because Josh Allen's coming to his own and he's becoming such an elite, quarterback. Yeah, Lamar Jackson looked scary last week, but he's been looking scary for like the last 2 years. So,
but people are saying that he couldn't win the game.
And he did his due diligence. He won last week. We'll give him that.
Let me tell you something. With a heavy heart, I'm going with the Bills.
I just feel like they're a better team.
You have until tomorrow.
They're a stronger team,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But can I tell you that the Ravens looked better last week than the Bills have looked in the past couple weeks? So I'm just putting that there. I'm grudgingly going for the Bills because I feel that even though the Ravens are the favorite,
but you have until before 8 o'clock. You have until 8 o'clock to
let me
let
me sleep on that because I feel like let me tell you something. I'm going with the Bills,
mm-hmm.
but the Ravens, I feel like they're going to take it.
Yeah. So Bills, Ravens, right?
No, I think it was Bills all around.
He chose the Ravens.
No. Oh, you chose the Ravens, Dre?
No. I chose the Bills first.
Yeah, I think everybody chose the Bills unless Tay changes her picks right now.
Yeah.
She's on record as
I thought Matt chose the Ravens.
I chose the Bills.
I'm on record for the Bills. Like I said, I'm doing it only because I feel that Josh Allen is like you guys said, the Bills have been a better team most of the season. Mm-hmm. But I noticed something in Lamar Jackson last week that I hadn't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Ravens, they shut down the Titans in a way that people were not expecting them to.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like the only thing they have over the Bills, like overwhelmingly, is their defense. As far as like the offense, because Lamar Jackson don't have that many weapons.
Just Mark Andrews.
Exactly. So it's all relying on Lamar Jackson.
What he did himself?
I did.
Exactly.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. As far as that, that's the only edge, and that's why they're the favorites. The edge is their defensive side. Because of what you just said, the way that they shut the Titans down and how they did it and how effectively they did it. So it's like, so it's like, are they able to do that to a Buffalo Bills offense that has been relatively good this year? You know what I'm saying? But they've been all around good. They are. I feel like Buffalo is the overall better team. Baltimore just has the way better defense.
You said Baltimore has the better defense?
I feel like they have the better defense than Buffalo, yeah.
I think Baltimore for that last game, because they built that roster for that Titans game, we would have to see, because it was been said across most of the sports outlets, the Ravens built that defense especially for their running for the Titans running game. That's what they said. Now Buffalo doesn't have
a better. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, even though I think the Bills have a way worse running game than the Titans, I also think on the defensive side for the Bills have a better contained defense than most defenses in the league. So if Lamar Jackson has to be relegated with throwing the ball most of the game and can't get over 50 yards running, it's going to be a problem for that team.
Yeah,
it's going to be a problem.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the Buffalo Bills defense is bad. Let me be clear with that.
No, that I know.
I just feel like Baltimore has a way better defense than Buffalo. That's why I said Buffalo all around, meaning offensive and defense included, special teams included. I feel like they are the better team than Baltimore. So that's why I'm choosing them. Because again, like you said, if you hold Lamar Jackson to where he's relegated to only throw, they're in trouble.
And we're not saying that he can't throw. It's just he's better with his wheels than he is with his arms.
Which opens up his passing game 100%. Right. When you know that he's getting out there and he's busting those runs out, you have to play that secondary back to contain the run, and then that just opens up the passing game for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, the Battle of the Grandpas is the next game.
Boy,
Bucks Saints. I'm not disrespectful.
So disrespectful.
These are football grandparents, Bucks and Saints. I want to go with the Bucks. But
imagine if Drew Brees had offensive lines as good as Tom Brady did over the years.
I've been saying that for years, but
that's a conversation in itself.
I've been saying that for years.
I think I want to take the Saints in this one, but Tom Brady has hit his groove so far, and I think that
Stella got her groove back.
Right.
Whatever.
Hey, so I'm going with the Bucks.
I'm going with the Saints.
Queen,
just like Eli Manning is his kryptonite, I think Drew Brees is kryptonite too.
Let me tell you something. I'm going with the Saints.
As was I. I was already taking them. I can't take Tom. Yeah.
There's nothing against Tom because, again, embarrassment of riches. They're supposed to win this game. They are 100%.
But Tay, go ahead. You were gonna make a point.
But yeah, go ahead, Tay.
I feel that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? I think they have what it takes to go deeper into the playoffs, right? Drew Brees was looking kind of old the last couple of weeks too. But Kamara, on the other hand, was looking almost cyborgish. You get what I'm saying? So I feel that does the Buccaneers still have Antonio Brown? Like, I forgot that he was even.
Yes. He had a touchdown last week.
A touchdown, a whole one?
Half of one, I guess.
I mean, you got all the pieces that you have. I mean, you don't necessarily have to throw to him. You have other pieces.
Yeah, but the thing is, they shouldn't, with all the pieces that they have, you get what I'm saying? They should not. They've gotten embarrassed by the Saints both times they played them. I think.
Definitely did.
I also want to piggyback. Yeah, let me piggyback on that real quick, Tay. I'm sorry to cut you off. Mike Evans has been playing trash this year. I just want to get that out there. Mike Evans has been playing terrible this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we're it was Big Baby was going with the Bucks.
Yeah, but he don't care about his rating.
Yeah, I'm taking those Saints because I think what Tay said is 100% true, and that's my reasoning behind it as well. I think this is going to be who strikes last, but I think Kamara is the X factor in this game. It really is. I don't think Gronk is really something to be worried about. Yes, am I worried about the wide receivers for Tampa Bay? I am, but I think Kamara is the number one problem for Tampa Bay to have to contain.
Hey, you said receivers. What about the tight end? The running back.
Nobody at this very point in time. Nobody seems to be worried about Gronk at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried
Nobody's
about.
worried about Gronk at this moment.
This is the time where you worry about him, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting to. This is the time. This is the time, but nobody has been worried about Gronk up. And if the Saints are smart, they kind of be like, all right, you better look, keep somebody big enough there to guard him.
Yeah. Boy,
So
hands with the size of a computer screen. I don't understand it.
Right. So we talked about drama earlier between two teams. Now we're talking about drama in the borough of Brooklyn. With the now inclusion of the beard James Harden, who has been very Carl Thomas emotional for the better part of this season, and Kyrie Irving going missing, and not having a, what do you call it, a valid excuse for being missing.
Another drink.
Yeah. Matt, what are your thoughts on how this team is going to function this year?
All right.
And without
cursing.
Kyrie Irving, without cursing, without Kyrie Irving bias.
I'm not biased. I'm far from biased. Let's be clear.
Go ahead.
I'm really not biased.
The floor is yours. Go ahead. I'm not. Listen, don't get yourself. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start this off with Kyrie Irving because clearly there's bias. I do not support anything this man has been doing as far as abandoning your team for no reason, and we have yet to heard a reason. I think they said something about what happened at the Capitol and that look, without cursing. I just think it's a cop-out. I don't know what your problem is, but you really need to grill it up, fix it, eat it, get a Coke and a smile, and shut up. That's just my opinion on it. As far as that, I don't agree with you missing games. I don't agree with none of that. I don't agree with you going on. I mean, cool, granted, your heart is in the right place as far as your philanthropy and social justice. It's cool. All hands on deck, get it. Still, you are being paid, what, $40 million this year? 36 to 40 million this year? Play the game. That's your responsibility. Play the game. You knew he was going to be the talk of this season. You knew you was going to be, especially because you started the season before you even played, and you missed like the whole season last year. You started the season before the season even started, talking about how you finally have somebody you can rely on the shot with, which is Kevin Durant, which is obviously taking a dig at LeBron James. Like you started the season off with drama. If you really want to create beef and a rivalry with the Lakers because LeBron James is there, you need to hold up to your end of the bargain, which is show up, show out, and be a team and be a leader. So, regardless of what Tavia P and Dre is saying as far as me being biased, I'm a realist. I don't agree with nothing that he's doing. The 5 games he missed, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it unless you have a death, God forbid, or somebody sick. I don't want to hear none of that.
But then again, this is a man that we've now seen missing games, but yet he was on video, photographed at a birthday party.
I was getting there.
And then on the Zoom call for a Manhattan District Attorney candidate.
Or like the Manhattan District Attorney, I don't understand that part. Maybe it's something with social justice. That's cool. If that's your heart, cool. Show up to games.
But on the night, but see, you know what the problem with that was the optics, right? The optics of that. That same night was a Nets game.
Exactly.
That same night was a Nets game. You can't go to the game. You can't be available for your team, but you could be on a Zoom call.
Like I said, I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid. And then it goes into this James Harden trade, which I felt like they felt like it was a personal thing. Because he's been so MIA, I felt like they pulled the trigger on this trade to get James Harden there because ain't no telling what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving. And they feel like they got to make Kevin Durant happy by not really messing with him and messing with it in his head, like kind of like apparently Boston did or like Cleveland apparently did. So they're trying to keep Kevin Durant happy by keeping his friend happy. Look, I'm not mad James Harden is there. I'm mad we lost Karis LeVert because I'm a Karis LeVert fan. I like Prince. I like Allen. I like all of them. I don't like the fact that we lost a lot of our pieces. But do you let James Harden go? He's a once in a lifetime talent. You don't just let him go.
I wouldn't say once in a lifetime talent. Let's be real here. Okay, he's not a once in a lifetime talent. Kevin Durant.
He's not LeBron. He's not LeBron. He's not a once in a lifetime. I agree with Tay.
LeBron's a once in a lifetime. Okay, LeBron's a once in a lifetime talent, but James Harden is a once every generation type scorer. Let's be 100.
KD's still a better scorer though. I feel
There's great scorers in his generation, so he's not a once in a generation because.
But do you let him go? You would let him go?
Yeah.
Y'all would let James Harden go.
I wouldn't have taken him because, like you said that there's an abundance of riches, right? Yeah. When it comes to the Nets, and I feel as if it was not a stupid move. Don't get me wrong, but remember when you had like with the Knicks with Melo and Amari, right? They're not on the level. I would say Melo is not on the level of a Harden. Amari not so much on the KD, but I feel as if Jade what?
Nowhere close to KD.
Yeah, but still,
nowhere close to KD.
At the end of the day, well, Amari in his prime was very explosive, but at the end of the day,
shoot worth a lick. Did not have no offensive moves outside of the box. So it's not the same thing. I would never.
What she's explaining, what she's saying is the pieces, not so much like comparing the players. Continue.
And Amari could have been like a KD. He could have been. Okay, so let's not even get there. But what I'm saying is, James Harden acted like a complete and utter baby to get out of Houston. He showed more energy into getting out of a place that was paying him handsomely than he ever did for any social justice type of problems that were happening in the United States. I think with Kyrie Irving, this is not surprising for me with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a bum. You get what I'm saying? This is bum behavior. You get what I'm saying?
She's talking off the court.
Folks. No, this is bum behavior.
I give you with the behavior,
This is what bums do. He didn't want to be Robin to LeBron's Batman, like my boy Shannon Sharp said. So he ended up being Alfred to both James Harden and KD. And I think he didn't like that. I think that has something to do with it.
He's Commissioner Gordon now.
Look.
Just
say he's the third option. Don't say he's Alfred. Stop.
But at the end of the day, no, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop.
Y'all going to stop making it seem like this man is not one of them.
Stop.
He's not. Kyrie Irving on the court, he is not a bum. Stop. He is not. How you think he's a bum? He's one of the leading scorers on the team. How's he a bum?
This is what bums do. And I'm
off the court. Off the court. Off the court, I agree with you. On the court, he's not a bum. Stop. Stop.
Bum. This is what bums do.
On the court, he is not a bum.
It's as if
on the court, he is not a bum. He's the most skillful player in the league right now. Stop.
Brooklyn act. That's how Kyrie Irving is acting right now, like a bum. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, this is bum behavior. He's been saying this since they've announced the trade. I'm not surprised at his behavior.
None of us is.
Yeah, so he's a bum.
Not on the court. Off the court, yes.
He's a bum.
I agree with you. Off the court, yes.
He's a bum.
On the court, no.
He's a bum.
Not on the court.
He's a bum.
Not on the court.
Either way,
Not on the court.
because it's off the court.
You're not going off the court. Off the court, yes. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Don't even wait. The thing is, you would write back somebody's antics if they showed up and did what they were supposed to do. You know, Dennis Rodman got away with a lot of nonsense on the Chicago Bulls, right? You know why they put up with him? Because when he showed up, his team was winning championships, right? Kyrie Irving has not done enough to prove why he's acting like a bum off the court. That's why I call him a bum. I can call him worse, but we can't curse. Okay? But he's a bum. Period.
First of all, I'm not going to disagree with what Tay said in the fact that what Kyrie Irving has been doing is bum-like behavior. Right? It is bum-like behavior. We all know I was never necessarily a fan of Kyrie going to the Nets to begin with, but let's just start here, right? And this has been said on other platforms as well. Kyrie Irving wants to be a social justice person. I'm with you, man. You want to sit there, you want to fight for the betterment of Black and brown people around the world. I'm with you, man. You want to sit there and you want to fight for the betterment of people of color in the NBA. I'm with you, man.
But how are you doing that if you're not playing?
Right, but he acts like he can't chew gum and walk at the same time. Okay, he's got to do one or the other. He's got to do one. Oh no, I can't. You know, and to be honest with you, more than being bum behavior, he's being a crybaby. Okay, he's being a crybaby. Okay, there were a lot of players in the NBA that had something to say about the riots that happened in our nation's capital. What did they do? They played the game. They played their game, and they used their social media platforms. They used their media platforms after the game, post-game interviews, pre-game interviews, whatever, to speak their piece on what happened. Kyrie Irving decided to take his ball and go home. He decided to take his ball and go home. And now we're over here talking about how he was seen on this Zoom call. He was found at a party, this, that, and the third. Listen, I think Harden, do I not make the Harden trade if I'm a team? If Harden's available, I go after him. He is that good of a talent. I agree with that. Do I think the Nets needed James Harden? No, I don't. No. I don't think the Nets needed James Harden. I don't think the Nets needed to make that trade. Right? Now, I will say, thankfully, having signed Joe Harris to a long-term contract, Spencer Dinwiddie being injured allowed us to not give up as many physical players as we would have in the original iterations we saw of this trade.
Facts.
Right? We gave up, the best player we gave up was Karis LeVert, okay, who I think is going to be an all-star in Indiana. Okay?
And Allen.
I think Jared Allen is a notch below Karis. He still has a lot of seasoning to do. He's not as good as I think he can be just yet. I think Jared Allen can be an all-star, but Jared Allen might need another year or two. But Cleveland, in terms of actual physical players, won this trade, right? In terms of who they physically got.
100%.
Right? And then Indiana comes in second to me. They get Karis LeVert for Victor Oladipo. I think it's a wash, but I think they wanted to get rid of Oladipo.
He wanted to get out of there.
Right. Houston wins in the long term with the picks as long as they draft right. Right. The Nets really are going to have to be in a win now scenario. Right. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to hope that Kevin Durant resigns with the team. But here's where my big thing comes in. I don't think James Harden was brought in to make people happy. I don't think James Harden was brought in for any of that. I think James Harden was brought in as a Kyrie Irving insurance policy.
Exactly.
I think James Harden was brought in so that conversations can begin to happen in Brooklyn with KD saying, listen, would you mind playing with Harden instead of Kyrie?
And Kyrie's and the crazy thing about it, Kyrie's stock, as crazy as the things he's been doing, you can still get some pieces for Kyrie and put you back where you need to be, where you didn't give up all those draft picks. Like you pulled to me that trade, I didn't like it because you pulled Boston. You pulled what you did with Boston last time.
It was smarter than the Boston trade, Dre. It was
way
smarter.
smarter than the Boston trade.
Yes, it was smarter, but you still gave up those draft picks. Regardless in whatever position that you will fall in the draft, you still need to build for the future.
Well, that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that the second round picks really flourish out because they're hoping that what ends up happening is if you have KD for 6 years, if you have James Harden for 6 years and you're able to build around them, even if you end up keeping a Kyrie Irving, you don't have as many spots to have to worry about in terms of starting level players. So really you're building out your bench. The smartest thing they did in this trade that they didn't do in the Boston trade, Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics had control over the pick swap years. So in the years when the Nets were bad and they had a really high pick, Boston,
yes, they do, Shaq. I was getting there.
Boston took the pick and swapped with the Nets. But then when the Nets were good and the Nets had a mid-round first-round pick or back end of the first round, when the Nets used to sneak into the playoffs, Boston decided, we'll wait till next year to swap because they knew they weren't going to get a good pick. So, Billy King gave up a lot of control in those trades. Nevertheless gave up a lot of assets. This year, this trade, they gave up a lot of assets, but they didn't give up the control.
Got you. Any final thoughts on this topic?
Right along with what Shaq said, yes, the Nets do have 3 empty slots available on their roster to fill out their roster. So they could pick up somebody like a Kyle Culver or to fill out the 3-point shooting that we lost when we got rid of Allen. But even though we still got, we got Harris, they still got. I like Bruce Brown. I don't know if Pete or Dre really like him. I really like Bruce. I really like Bruce Brown. I like what he's able to do.
Why you said Pete or Dre?
Because they're Nets fans.
Oh.
Why you always gotta go that route? Like we still got.
I was just making sure.
Still got Landry Shamet. I do like the Nets team. We gave up Dinwiddie and Allen and Prince.
We didn't give up Dinwiddie. We didn't give up Dinwiddie.
I'm not to say Levert. My bad. My head. All right. We got rid of Levert. We got rid of Allen. Got rid of Prince. They got 3 available spots left, so they can shop a free agency if they want. You still got Kyle Culver, I think, who's available, which rounds out the 3-point shooter. You could probably pick up another big man to back up DeAndre Jordan, which they desperately need, honestly, because I think we just got Reggie Perry, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure who else.
Who still want Kyle Culver?
That man can shoot. What are you talking? What?
Yes, right. Steve Novak can shoot too, but you don't see him still in the league.
I ain't even gonna go on. Steve. I like discount double check. I'm not gonna do that. We ain't gonna. You know what?
Good times.
Good stuff. I remember that.
Those names that you picked for me are boring. It seems like they seem like they're really top heavy. And then once somebody goes on the bench, they're gonna lose every single game that they play. Sorry.
No, I don't believe that. I feel like they're gonna do real good in the East. Their test is the West. That's just what it is.
You got me all effed up because I'm messing with my controls. They're gonna do really well against the East.
Real well against the East.
But
Their problem is gonna be the West.
Something. They are too heavy for their own good.
Scoring heavy, yes.
There's no defensive balance there. You get what I'm saying? To justify trading away that many pieces. Now, granted, I agree with you, Matt. I feel that, and I agree with you, Pete. If you have Harden as an available player, you take him. You get what I'm saying? Especially if you have the cap for him, you take him. But I do feel as if this is not what they didn't need this trade.
Vince Carter, free agent.
Stop it. He retired.
No, I mean, if you want to talk about a real free agent, you know who actually is out there though.
Who?
LiAngelo Ball is out there. I'm just saying. Third ball, brother.
Y'all said Kyle Korver. I am done with this show.
You got Kyle Korver. You got Gerald Green.
He said Kyle Korver.
Gerald Green. I'll take
Tyson
Gerald Green.
Chandler's still out there. I don't know
The Knicks about to pick up Tyson Chandler. Nick's about to pick up Tyson Chandler.
I would pick up Kyle O'Quinn, honestly.
Rondé Hollis Jefferson still out there.
Y'all using your ESPN fantasy draft stuff.
Nah.
You dragging the conversation now. Next topic.
All right. So, it's been a little while, but we haven't had the smoke on here at least for a couple of weeks. So, let's get into BK Matt's smoke section.
Stop you right. Woo! Who made that beat? Oh, I made that beat. Yeah. Yes.
He did make that. He did make that.
But yeah.
So I say who made that beat? You just should have said who made that beat.
I'm sorry.
Welcome
I
back.
was setting it up. Now, normally,
go ahead. The floor is yours.
Normally, this would be my section to give all the smoke. And I would, but we did talk about Kyrie Irving and James Harden trade. So, it's not really much for me to talk about. So I'm going to pass this topic, this segment, the smoke is being given to Tavia. Go ahead, Tay. Give the smoke. Get the smoke. I know you got something. Go ahead, girl. Get the smoke.
Well, I wasn't expecting to give the smoke this week, right? There are a couple of, all right. As we all know, tragically, there was a riot on Capitol Hill last week that claimed the lives of 5 people, right? And one of the biggest news that came out of the Capitol riots was the participation of an Olympic gold medalist who was on a team with, I believe, Ryan Lochte and Michael Phelps in the 2008 Olympics. He was on that swim team. And the reason why I think this was big for me to kind of point out is we had a whole special episode about, the social justice movement started by Colin Kaepernick and how he was immediately demonized to the point where the man still can't get an NFL starting job, backup job, any type of job. And just the way that those conversations were framed around him, they're saying that his movements was unpatriotic, that he was disrespectful to the flag. He was called a son of a bitch by the then president of the United States. And now that, this Capitol rioter was an athlete, a professional athlete, an Olympic gold medalist athlete as well, even though he's been charged for his crime, and I think he's out on bail, I don't think he's in jail, you're not hearing that same energy. You're not hearing people, even though, like we said, Kaepernick was a bigger story, but this was a more impactful story. This shows you that the bias is real. I'm not hearing Fox News talking about this guy. I'm not hearing, even though, like I said, Colin Kaepernick was a popular player at the time. But what this guy did was way more of domestic terrorism than anything Colin Kaepernick even attempted to do. And I give it the smoke because the sports figures, the sports head, the talking heads are not giving it the same energy. This was one of the biggest news it was on TMZ, it was on Forbes, it was everywhere. But the same talking heads who said so much about Kaepernick, you get what I'm saying, said so much about all these NBA players, the WNBA, you know what I'm saying, but you're not keeping that same energy, and this is what we mean when we speak bias. And that's
Agreed.
it.
Tay, I want to jump on something that you just said, right? Anybody who if I will find anybody who's at the Capitol riots and had any sort of violent, is going to get charged. If they had a badge, they should never get a job with a badge again. Because I know reports are coming out, there were a lot of off-duty police officers from around the nation that were seen at the Capitol riots. And my belief is, if you was a police officer and you was out there and you was involved in this, you should never have the ability to hold a badge ever again.
Right. And I feel as if the reason why I brought this up, even though it's kind of an oldish story, it's just to show you we have this hashtag that we always use, which is bigger than sports. And I want you guys to, our people who listen to the podcast to think that, to know, what I'm saying, that these are the things that are out there. And that's why it's very important for us as, journalists of color, you get what I'm saying, to report the things that are very important, that do have a sports angle to it. And the Capitol riots was one of the biggest stories, of all time. And I think it's one of those things, one of those days that'll live in infamy. And I think that is, the subsequent impeachment of President Trump, all this week, it's been 17 days of the new year. And look at what we're dealing with. And my message, for all the talking heads who didn't really pay this much attention, you get what I'm saying? Like, you're doing your followers a disservice. I want you to go into his history like you went into Cap's history. You get what I'm saying? I want you to talk about the fact that Cap was black but raised by white parents and use that as an excuse to say that he shouldn't care about social justice. White supremacy is very much a thing. You get what I'm saying? And to be pro-black, which I am, does not mean that I'm ever anti-white. Right. But I wish that people would see that this bias is real. And it's been how many years and Cap still can't get a job? You mean to tell me we sit here and we debate all these weeks about Sam Darnold and this person and that person and that person and that person, and it still baffles me that this man couldn't get a job even after all this.
Right. Agreed. And if we're talking about likely punishments, right, let's take it way back. Let's take it to 1968. You remember during the Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, right? They stood on the Olympic stage, they protested, they lifted their fist, and ultimately, I believe they lost their gold medals, right? That's the least that should happen at this point in time. That is the very least that should happen.
100%.
And this goes to show, like what Tay says, there's a difference. There's always a difference because people were bringing up, well, if it was, if it was black people storming the Capitol, it'd have been different. Yes, that's true.
I believe so.
Absolutely.
I believe so.
Absolutely. The stairs would not be the same color as they are now. Let's be real. But all of that to say, like Chase said,
black people of color wouldn't do that because we already know that we can't.
Right. Right. When I went to protest to try to get my job back, we stayed behind the fence. Most of us are people of color or immigrant descent that went to the Capitol and protested. It was still scary for me because I'm like, we're protesting, but down the block, Trump protesters were protesting. So I could have easily been caught in that crossfire. But again, the same energy, we preach, keeping the same energy. We've been preaching keeping the same energy since before the podcast even started. And the country and the law isn't keeping the same energy. This man should be trialed and arrested and put in jail for storming the Capitol building of the United States of America. If this was any other race, that person would be on death row right now.
And another thing I want to uplift, and it's a narrative that I've been hearing all week and stuff like that too, is that people are trying to liken this to the George Floyd protests and the Breonna Taylor protests. And let me tell you something here too. I feel like anybody who was down with the cause of the George Floyds and the Breonna Taylors were not the ones that were looting. It was the agitators who didn't care about the mission, who didn't care about peace and equality. Those were the ones who were inciting the fire because they had the privilege to do so. You get what I'm saying? Right. And now we're in a world where, people don't like to talk about politics. People say, well, that doesn't apply to me, but we don't have that privilege.
To me, the soundbite that'll live in infamy, right? There was never anyone of power, never anyone in the movement, never anyone that was aligned with the movement during the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter protests who we ever heard go on a stage and tell thousands of people that we should have trial by combat, right? No one said that during any of the right? During the George Floyd protests, during the Black Lives Matter protests, you never saw, if anything, you saw the leaders of the movement saying, yes. Do we disagree with the tactics that are being used? Yes. Should we defend ourselves? Yes. But should we be the antagonizers? No.
No.
They would shut it down, right? But what did we have? We had elected officials. We had the United States president. We had the former mayor of New York City standing on a stage in Washington, D.C., almost an hour before everything happened, if not less time than that. And you had people saying we should have trial by combat. You had an incoming elected official in a rally before this say that you should tell your elected officials you'll come after them, right? That is the problem.
Big problem. Matt, I'll let you wrap this up.
Honestly, we don't keep the same energy. It's sad in America, and it's supposed to be the land of the free. It's supposed to be equal, everything. It's not. It's far from the above. I hate the fact that I'm not gonna hold you. I sat back and I watched it, and I felt I felt like three emotions. At first, I laughed. The second, I was angry, and the third, I was disappointed. I laughed because look at all the scrutiny we all got when we protested. You know, when the George Floyd thing happened, when the Breonna Taylor thing happened, and when the cops got off, Rodney King. I can keep going. You know, Trayvon Martin. I literally can keep going. And the narrative was these criminals and they're looting and they're doing this. And they're doing it for the wrong thing. They're doing it for attention and all this other stuff. But yet these people, and then I go to the second emotion. I go to the angry, you know, where I was sad about it because it was like, if that was us, we would have got shot. We would have got killed. Worse things would have happened. I felt like it would have been a lot more casualties than what, like, was it 4? Was it 2? It was like
5.
It was 5. It would have been a lot more if it was us, because we're seen more of a threat than these people were, and we know the balance to not pass lines, even though we want to. You seen it. We wreck our own neighborhood sometimes, and yeah, it's not a great thing to say.
Is it our neighborhood though?
You're right.
We're allowed to live there because we can't live anywhere else because of redlining.
You're right, but what I'm saying is, because we know the balance of, we can't go to a city hall and wreck there, or because we'll get killed. So that line is there. We'll do that here and not go there because we know we'll die. We know the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is not the same to certain people, and that's a sad feeling. That's an angry feeling, and those are the three emotions that I felt watching it. I laughed initially because I'm like, look at them. We're compared as we're looked at as animals.
Didn't they look like
what they did? Huh?
Didn't they look like thugs?
Boy,
they definitely look. They're real gangster in that Capitol.
That was a thuggish move.
I put up the
super
post.
thugs.
I put up the post. I said, we're looked at as animals for wrecking our, like, where we live at. They stormed the Capitol and ruined everything but Olive Garden. How does that even work?
Well,
and
you know,
they're gonna see charges and get probation for 2 weeks. They'll be picking up stuff off the side, off the highways, and then they'll be back to their normal life without a felony and nothing on them. But if it was us, we'd be in prison waiting to see a trial for months to a year.
Trial by combat, like Pete said.
It's crazy. It's just, Three emotions.
I do want to say though, to all these companies, to all these communities that have finally, decided not to do business with certain people, better late than never. But where was this energy throughout this 4-year period?
Most definitely.
Well, I didn't mean to definitely dampen the mood, right? But I feel
you're good.
Kyrie Phillibum, there we go. That'll bring it up.
I'm not apologizing, but all I'm saying is what we got all around to our feelings. But the Olympic swimmer, he needs to be stripped of his medals.
Absolutely.
Of his accolades, and he should not be able to have eligibility to swim for anybody's national team. So that was my main point. And then to wrap up, I guess we're getting ready to wrap up soon. I really agree with Gilbert Arenas, who says that if Jordan and Kobe had the lineup that LeBron...
No, we're not doing it. Get out of here. I'm done. We're done, Dre. End it. I'm done. You are not going to disrespect Kobe Bryant. That's what you're not going to do. I'm not allowing it.
And
gentlemen. I'm not allowing it. No.
Ladies.
Mute her, Dre. Mute her. Mute her now. No. 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 Dre, end it now. Dre, end it now. No. You are not going to disrespect Kobe Bryant. You are not going to disrespect Kobe Bean Bryant. You are not going to do that right now. You are not going to defecate on that man's legacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Yerrr Sports Show this week. For BK Matt, for Pete, the voice of a generation, for the Queen Tay, it is your boy Big Baby signing out. Peace.
The best sports show if you really get it on. We're gonna tell you exactly what is wrong if you wanna come over to the test. Yes, the sports opinion is the best yet.